excited for our show this week. We are talking to a happily married #1 best-selling authors and global entrepreneurs, Evan and Susan Money. The first thing before we get started, I have to ask you, is your last name really Money, or did you change that at some point?
So my last name really is Money, and to my bride's credit, she was unashamed. This was a big deal in Los Angeles. I don't know about other areas, but to her credit, she was unashamed to marry Money. So she was right up front about it.
I love it. Well, what a fitting name for what you're doing now. But let's start by having you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves and your family.
Oh, thanks, Monica. What we're most excited about, though, really is the greatness in each and every one of the people that are listening right now. Because the simple truth is we're all preloaded with greatness, and we just have to let it out. Mm-hmm. And so my bride and I have been letting out our greatness by early on saying, hey, you know what? We're not going to compromise when it comes to our marriage. We're not going to compromise when we have children down the line. This was early on. And we're not going to compromise in the way we run and operate our businesses. And so I remember when we first were serious about marriage, and I'm looking around wondering, okay, are we really going to do this thing? And all I saw were 3 options, Monica. You could be married and miserable, you could be divorced and desperate, or you could be single and cynical. And those are the only 3 options I saw available. And not from I think a higher level, like, oh yes, I'm going to rise above and do all this. I was more from the rebel perspective of like, no, I'm not buying into that. I refuse. I'm rebelling against this. And my bride and I are going to figure out how we can do this happily ever after thing. Mm-hmm. And people accuse me of, oh, you've watched too many, Disney films. And I'm like, no, I know it's out there and we're going to figure this out. And along the way, we finally figured out, oh, wait a minute, it's not on the outside. We already loaded with the greatness. So let's let our greatness out and figure out how to have a marriage of greatness. Mm-hmm. And so along the way, we now have 2 amazing young adults that are 17 and 14. We've got dogs, we've got cats, we've got it all, and live this incredible, relaxed lifestyle, and are just so blessed to now at this stage in our lives, carry that forward and say, hey, you know what? It's time to let other people know that there is an option of a marriage of greatness, and this is how it's done.
Oh, I love so much about what you just said, but I love that you said you have it all, because that is kind of my platform. That is what I teach, that you can actually have it all. So I love that. And I'm so excited to dig into how you guys have created it all for yourselves. But so we're going to dive right into this. You guys have been married. Is it 27 times you guys have been married?
Yep.
To each other. Did this start like right when you got married? You're like, we're going to do this thing. We're going to get married every single year that we're married.
So yeah, we've definitely number 27, and the math is challenging because to help people, my ultimate goal, and I learned this from hanging around Bob Proctor and some of the behind the scenes stuff he's taught me was, Bob Proctor's famous for having his 100-year birthday party already planned out. Okay. So he's in his mid 80s, but ever since he was like 70, he was like, no, we're doing this 100 birthday party. It's at the Bellagio Hotel. It's going to be this giant event and da-da-da. And I was scratching my head going, wow, if you're putting that much energy into this event, you're probably going to show up, right? And so I was like, well, what could I do? So my bride and I decided, hey, our goal is 100 weddings by my 100th birthday.
Wow.
And so that requires us to double up a few years.
Yeah,
so
because Evan just turned 50. So.
Yes. So we have been married for 23 years, 6 months, 21 days, and about 3 hours, give or take. And so that requires like, okay, if we're going to get to 100, we got to start doubling up and getting going. So yeah, we've had 27 total.
Okay. I love this. So I just want to make this clear for the audience. We're not talking about you haven't renewed your vows 27 times. Like you've literally gotten remarried and gone on another honeymoon every single time you've done this.
Yeah, keyword is the honeymoon part. But yes, it's a yes and for sure, but a lot of women listening to the show already disconnect because they hear wedding and they think stress. They think, oh my gosh, it's got to be perfect. Oh my gosh, remember Aunt Martha didn't have a place for her to sit and da-da-da. And we still have our own stress from our first wedding of people we couldn't fit in, didn't have enough money and all this stuff. But We're talking about something totally different. So what we do, it's a yes and. So we actually do have a wedding ceremony. Sometimes it's really big, sometimes it's really small. For instance, a friend of mine, amazing guy, Zach Woodfin, we love Zach and Fawn so much. He was a coach for the Green Bay Packers, not the head coach, but a coach. And I said, oh, it'd be so awesome, because I'm a football guy, to get married at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So all the Packer fans are rejoicing. But for my bride, I said, hey, we'll go during the summer. We're not going to go during the winter, right, in this frozen tundras. So my buddy Zach's like, okay, I got you covered. And he remarried us, but we didn't know anybody. So he brought all his friends to the wedding. And he said, hey, I'm going to marry you guys. And I asked him to marry us. And he's like, oh, well, can I do that? I'm like, dude, if you can coach professional athletes, you can marry us, trust me. So I had him write the vows for us. And so he did this whole ceremony, yeah, with the whistle, with his jersey thing. I mean, it was awesome. And he put in quotes about love and togetherness from Vince Lombardi. And so, you know, he's doing these amazing vows. I'm crying, and also American football is so awesome. And so the other key, though, is yes, we have a full-blown honeymoon after every ceremony. So sometimes the people that marry us, they are official, you know, clergy and all that. But most of the time it's friends, people we know, or different circumstances. So it's all of the above. But the key is that each one is fun. Each one is relaxing. It's a joy. It's not this burden of like, oh, the wedding stress. I know my bride's got some stuff to add.
Oh, I have some stuff to add. Yeah, I mean, we've done it really small, like in the corner of an airport, and we've done it really big, like where we had full-on weddings and receptions and stuff. It's just, our thing is that we do it in a different state or country every year, and so that has lended to all these amazing different locations, and sometimes not amazing locations, but we're together and it doesn't really matter, you know, but we're in a different place. So it's just fun, and none of them have been the same. We do have a website, evanlovessusan.com, and on that, we have all of them listed so far. So if you're really curious, you can go check it out. But it's been a blast. And it's like every time we come home from a renewal, then we're like coming home from this like wedding honeymoon bliss. And then we're already thinking about where we're going to go the following year. So we're always kind of in this state of coming back from one or planning to go on one. And so it just keeps the energy alive. It keeps us together planning something and being excited about something, and it's kind of like a hobby.
Yes, yes. But the key, Monica, for your listeners to understand is, yeah, the last name is money, but for a long period of our wedding, it was in name only.
Yeah.
That is for sure. So this whole thought of like, oh, it's easy for you guys can go off and get remarried. So when she talked about the corner of the airport, some of these little ones, we had no clue what we were doing. So when my bride came up with this, it was her idea, of course. We went to this Dream Big seminar because where we were in our financial state, and you know, I'm a young entrepreneur, I have no clue what I'm doing. I had a little bit of hair, but that's about it.
That too.
Okay,
yeah,
as far as the brain power goes. But I realized that in order for things to grow, I had to grow. In order for things to change, we had to change. So we signed up and went to this Dream Big seminar. Yeah, we're going to dream big. Yeah. And she bought in, got caught up in the whole thing, and just looked at me and it's like, what if we got remarried in a different state or country every year? And I'm just going, and I'm figuring out like, okay, we're 3 months late on the rent. We're looking at our cars getting repossessed, except they're so junky, they wouldn't even repossess them. I mean, we were like way, way back. And so this is going in the back of my mind, but I knew just to go be smart and go, okay. So I remember my first mentor, Jim Rohn, talked about you can either find a way or you can find an excuse. And I said, I'm going to find a way to get remarried. And so I'm thinking a different country. We live in Los Angeles. So I'm like, I got it. I know where we'll go for our first official one. Tijuana, Mexico, wedding destination, capital of the world. I mean, that's how big I could dream, right? Tijuana, I'm thinking, okay, we could get a $10 dress at the little booth. We could go on the side steps of some old Catholic church and call it a day. That's what I was planning. And I know that man plans and God laughs, because before our first anniversary, which was our second wedding, we actually won an all-expense-paid trip, Monica, to Paris, France.
What?
Yes, and so our first ever marriage renewal thing was at the Palace of Versailles.
Okay,
Monica.
that's cool.
Yeah, all 700,000 square feet of the Palace of Versailles. That's bigger than Costco for those at home. And so I realized, like, wow, we're on to something, okay? I'm thinking Tijuana, here we are in Paris, France. This is glorious. And again, along the way, friends, connections, the infamous airport wedding, we had a setup where someone was going to marry us. They were this public figure. We were all excited, like, so-and-so's going to marry us. And then his thing, he had to cancel, and he left us kind of high and dry. And so we were like tail between our legs, like, because we didn't, again, we thought we need somebody official, and how are we going to do this? And so we're like, we're not missing out on this. So we had a little private ceremony in the corner of an airport in Portland, Oregon. But then the next year I said, okay, we got to make up for that one. We got to do these other ones. So we just had a lot of fun and unleash our creativity, and it's been a blast.
Yeah, well, I love so much about this. One thing that I love is that I talk so much in what I do about the importance of these vacations, right? Like taking time away from your kids. I know it's hard, like to leave your business and to leave your kids and make all the arrangements, but I believe there is nothing better that you can do for your relationship, for your business, and for your children than to get away and just enjoy each other, right? So I love that. I also love, because like as a woman too, I'm like, aside from the stress of like planning a wedding every year, I'm like, they did not have Pinterest when I got married. Like if I were to plan a wedding again, it would be so awesome. So now I'm like waiting for my two girls to like, I'm like, oh, their weddings are going to be incredible, right? But they're probably not going to let me plan their wedding. So I'm like, maybe I should just start getting married again every year, because that would be fun. Do you have followers that have now gone and done this, getting married every year?
Yeah, so two things with that. So number one is we've inspired a lot of folks, but as you've discovered, Monica, working with entrepreneurs and just people in general, I think everyone's favorite book in the Bible is the book of hesitations. And they get these great ideas and they're like, well, I don't know, and I'm not sure. And, But what I love about entrepreneurs is, right, we're the ones that actually make that jump, right? Yeah. But even as an entrepreneur, right, we'll make a jump in one area, but other areas we're just like, oh, it sounds good, I don't know, right? So we're all loyal to our limitations for whatever reason. So, but one area I want to share with you as far as the creativity side is and a lot of it is just based on what comes on my plate and how it works. So one of my clients was actually, I have an extreme sports business, and he was looking to diversify and create an extreme sports business on his tropical island that he was on. Just so happened to be the same island that the Atlantis Resort is on. And I was
about to say, I feel like I've heard of this island. Okay, keep going.
Yes, yeah. And so I said, hey, his name was Shaw. And I said, hey, Shaw, I got this, would you, could we do this? He turns out he was a dolphin trainer at the resort. And so we actually did a dolphin wedding. We were in the water, and my bride had her bride's mammal. I had my best mammal right next to me. So we were holding the dolphins while we had our ceremony. And we brought a good friend of ours, a family, brought them with us. And I said, hey, will you do the vows for us? And so we had this fun, we're wearing wetsuits, right? So,
I had a veil.
Yeah, you can actually see the picture right here. So right there. So that's a picture that someone drew for us. So we're wearing wetsuits. She's got a veil on. We're in the water. So, right? You talk about Pinterest, right? Right? It's just put the veil on, get in the water. So it's just super creative, super fun. But yes, we have inspired so many people. One of my favorites is a young couple. They got married I think she wasn't even 20 yet. He was 21. And I was speaking at an event. He was one of the speaker's sons. He goes, oh my gosh, you've inspired me. Let's do this, da, da, da. So for their second one, they flew out here to Los Angeles, and my bride and I married them at this special little cliff over the water. And we just put a bunch of flowers down on the cliff and had this great ceremony. And so, yeah, I love when people actually take action and do it. And so now they're posting on Facebook, and all their friends are like, oh, there you go, getting married again. Oh my gosh. And so they're carrying the torch forward. It's really fun. And we've inspired others. Some people are like, well, we're waiting for our 20 year. We're like, why wait? Yeah. Why do you want to wait for that honeymoon when you can have it right now? That's why I never understood for the male side. Like, why do you only want to have one honeymoon experience? Wouldn't you want to like duplicate that over and over and over? So yeah, lots of people are finally catching on.
I love it. We're getting close to our 20 year. So maybe we'll start at our 20 year getting married every year. No, but
Yes.
I don't think my husband will do like the full wedding. Like that's just not. I'm putting words into his mouth. I'm thinking he's not going to jive really well with that. But incredible practice aside, let's talk about having a marriage of greatness and a thriving business, because this is what I talk about till I'm blue in the face. But my audience is made up of passionate married entrepreneurs who have every intention of prioritizing their marriage and crushing their business goals. But it's much easier said than done. I know that that's the case. I know that it's simple, but not always easy. So let's talk about what you guys teach about this topic. I'm really excited.
Oh yeah, so I've got some good stuff. I know my bride does too, but I just want to go back to that again, being loyal to your limitations with your husband. So you don't have to tell your husband anything about a wedding. You just say honeymoon. Say, honey, we need another honeymoon. We'll go, okay, where do I show up? I'm in, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Just talk about the honeymoon and like, okay, cool. So with that.
Just buy a bikini. Okay.
Yes.
A really hot one that's not meant to be worn around the children.
Yeah, that's all the motivation they need. Honey. Yes.
We're good.
But going back to your question, the first thing I want to point out is that my bride and I, we don't want to crush anything. You know, we don't want to grind anything. You hear this, oh, I got to get on the grind. I'm going to crush it. And so for us, again, I don't want to crush or grind anything. I have a lot of fancy sports cars that are themed and fun. I don't want to grind my gears. You know, I don't want to crush anything. I want to build up. I want to flow. And so it's just that mindset of building and flowing and soaring. And people all the time hear them talk about, oh, greatness, you know, in sports, greatness in business, right? Even greatness in video games. That one I'm still like figuring out, right? Like, okay, be great, play a video game. Okay, whatever. But ever notice that no one ever talks about having a marriage of greatness?
Yes, that is my biggest problem. I'm like, people talk about their physical trainer, they talk about their business coach, and I'm like, why do people have this stigma? Like, why not improve the coolest relationship of your life? Duh.
Yes. Thank you.
Duh.
Thank you. Yes. So my bride and I, along with you, Monica, we're here to champion that cause and grow this tribe of entrepreneurs to live a marriage of greatness lifestyle. And so the first thing is just exposing, right? I remember when T.D. Jakes taught me that if you want to see true transformation, the only way to have true transformation is there has to be an example. People have to know that it can be done.
Yeah, like
so the more we're able to share, not on a toxic social media, look at me, I'm so cool. But a inspiration of saying, hey, you can have this too. And my bride really kind of helped me with that, because I was hesitant about how much social media to put out, how much to advertise this. And she was like, look, I just want people to have what we have. And I was like, yeah. And so just letting people know it's possible to have a marriage of greatness, and it's possible to do all these things. And we kind of figured this out as we went, but now as we're 23.5 years in, looking back, you know, we've got older teens. It's like, oh, wow, there's all these mistakes that we've made that you don't have to make. And we can carry that forward and bring that to people. And so anything coming up for you with that?
Well, I was just thinking about like the very first time the 4-minute mile was broken. Because well, I don't even know the stats. I just know that the very first time it happened, nobody thought it was going to happen. They thought, oh no, your skeletal system can't handle that speed, and your heart's going to explode, and all this. And then what was it? Jenner? No. Oh, I don't even remember the name. But the first time that somebody broke the 4-minute mile, like that following year, like 10 more people or 20 more people did it. And it was like somebody just needed to see that it was possible. And then once that barrier had been removed, then they're like, we can do it too. And then they wanted to be the second and then the third and the fourth people to do it. So it's just like Evan was saying, we just want to show people that it's possible to have it all.
Yeah, I love it. That's what I'm here to do too. I love it, because I feel like people think if you are seeking like a marriage mentor or something, that something must be broken, which is ridiculous. You can have a rising tide raises all ships.
Yes.
Why not improve all the areas of your life? It just, So that's the struggle I have too with people. I'm like, you're not admitting that something's broken. You're just saying, I want excellence in every area.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, we're going to be friends forever. I love it. Okay, so how can we increase the flow of love in our marriage? Because whether our marriage is thriving or barely surviving, who couldn't use more love, right? So you guys teach this. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so the most pain in people's marriages that we've discovered comes from the if-then cycle. So for those who are listening going, wow, how does he know I have so much pain in my marriage? Because I know, because you're buying into the if-then cycle. And the if-then cycle is basically this. Now, for a lot of women, it's the chatter in the head. But I want to let the women listeners know that the best kept secret is men have the same chatter you do. It's just men don't admit it and don't want to talk about it. So it's the same chatter that goes on, and sometimes we'll verbalize it, which is even worse. But this if-then cycle is well, if she would be more responsive in the bedroom, then I would be more than happy to help out and do this and this and this, or engage more with the kids, or do this, or work less, or da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, if he would do this and this and this, then maybe I'd break out that bikini. But he's not going to see that until, right? And it's this doom loop that just spirals into pain and problems, and the pain and problems get worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's all from this mindset of this if-then cycle. And I've yet to meet anyone that doesn't subscribe to this, but it's that self-awareness of going, oh, wow, yeah. And so I love how my bride puts it and I'll share it from the male point, and then I'll let you hear it from my bride's point. But in order for things to get better in your marriage, men, you have to get better. It's not about, well, I'm waiting on her, and well, as soon as she reads that book, I highlighted it for her and stuck it on her pillow, and she didn't read it. No. It's about you getting better. Because for me, again, quote unquote, we have it all, right? And all's an inside game for those that haven't figured that out. But we have an amazing house, and we have, life is tremendous and all this. But the biggest room in my house, Monica, is the room for improvement. And no matter how much I remodel it, it will always be that way. So taking that responsibility and saying, man, if things need to get better, I need to get better. So I'll let my bride share it to the female listeners out there.
Yeah, there's so many people who have challenges and they think, oh, if only my husband would stop spending so much money, or if only my husband would take some responsibility around the house or whatever. But I'm not responsible. I learned this early on in our marriage. I'm not responsible for changing Evan, although I tried to change him a lot because he wasn't doing things the way that I thought he should be doing things. But I found out through some counseling and mentorship that I could only change myself. And when I changed how I was responding, not reacting or responding to what he was doing, then he would reflect that change. And I wouldn't have to say anything. It's more like I can only change me. So I should work on me, and then he's going to follow, because he's going to be like, she doesn't do that anymore. I wonder why. And then it opens up conversation, and then he's more apt to want to change and to be a better person because I have chosen to be a better person.
Yeah, that's such an important tenet of what I teach as well. And I love it because I love how people teach different things in different ways, right? But that's such an that's like one of my 3 laws as well. But really, man, it's like, I always say it's very simple, but it's not easy, right? It's so simple to just focus on what you actually can control, which is only yourself. You can't change your kids, you can't change the economy.
Yeah, we've been trying that one for a long time.
Changing the kids.
Right. I know. A lot of people spend a lot of time. I teach it in areas of control, influence, and concern, right? A lot of people spend so much of their time and energy in this area of concern, which is their kids and their spouse and the weather and the economy. And you spend a lot of energy there, and it ends up just shrinking everything else, right? But if you'll put your energy in your area of control, it actually grows your area of influence. And then this is what's so beautiful. Your area of concern becomes completely irrelevant. Like, you are centered and you are you, regardless of what is happening out here. It's like this beautiful change. I love it. I love it. We teach it differently, but it's the same principle. I love. Okay, so what would you guys say is the number one killer of marriages, and how can we make sure that our marriage never falls into that trap?
Yeah, I think we're experts on that just because we live in Los Angeles, and that's probably the highest divorce rate, per capita, right, in the world. And so what I've discovered, and maybe Monica, if you've heard this as well, because we champion kind of the same things, is how many times, and for the people that are listening, driving, running, whatever, just you can mentally note how many times have you heard this, talking to your friends, relatives, whatever, oh, I just don't know what happened to Sue and I. We just grew apart.
Oh, I hate that.
Oh yeah, well, we just drifted apart. I don't know what happened. It's just we drifted apart.
A lot of love.
Yeah. And so the simple truth is, I finally figured this out, is that's because there's a drift. So for anyone that's ever been on, and Monica, you've been there, ever been on a lazy river, right? You're in your little tubes and you're on a lazy river, or anyone that spent any time on a lake, in a kayak or a canoe, right? Or one of these stand-up paddle boards, wherever you are, surfboards, whatever. Just anytime you're on
perfect analogy, because I'm thinking we do this girls trip on these paddle boards, and it, like, the group always goes over to the shore, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah, or you're trying to stay side by side with somebody, and you turn around and they're gone, and they're like, "What? Yeah, where'd they go? What happened?"
Great analogy. Okay.
Yeah, and so there is a drift, and so the simple truth for the husbands and the wives out there is you have to pick up the paddle. If you're not paddling, you will drift apart. Period, because that's the way life works. And to think like, oh, well, just because I said I do, then we're just gonna, stay together. The other fallacy that people buy into, the big lie, is that they think this classic, right? And I go back to those with young children can remember Moana, and some people have seen Moana so many times. They're like, no, nothing, I've seen it 10,000 times. But what happens in Moana is so many people think, like, when we get married, okay, I'm going to now jump on your paddleboard, or I'm going to jump on your boat, and we're going to be one boat. It's like, no, we are two separate people. So we need to paddle together to stay unified and stay close, like we're one person, and paddle in unison, right? But if you got like I call it the Moana marriage, right? Like the classic story of here's Moana demanding that Maui, right, board her boat. You will board my boat and you will take me here. You will marry me and you will make me happy. Right? And it's like, oh, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, this demand and command, right? Versus as soon as Moana took responsibility and said, well, I'm just going to paddle there myself. I'm going to work on me. Guess who came to Maui's like, oh, I'm here. Yes. Okay. So it's that same concept of picking up the paddle and understanding you need to paddle together. And for entrepreneurs that have children, now it's like, whoa, wait, I need to slow down my paddle, because for most cases, the woman is taking care of the kids. And once you have two, oh my gosh. Okay. So the second we had two, I was like, whoa, I had to totally adjust my paddling so we could stay in sync, because otherwise it's like, yeah, you run the business, I got the kids, and right? So it's up to you to take responsibility and realize, yes, there is a drift. And if I don't paddle, we're going to drift farther and farther apart. And that goes back to the if-then cycle. Well, as soon as she starts paddling, then I'll pick up my paddle. And it's like, no. So I need to take responsibility and paddle and get as close as I can to her, and realize that, oh, well, okay, let's all paddle together and go in unison. So once I realized there is a drift, and in Southern California, it's a lot stronger, but everywhere you go, there's one. So pick up the paddle and start paddling. And it's a daily thing, Monica, because you see how time goes. Like, oh, typical entrepreneurs, right? Oh yeah, we'll do a date night. That's the first thing to go, right? Oh, we got a business thing. And then it's like, next year, it's a month, 3 months, right? And it's like, where'd they go, right? They're way out with it. Oh, wow. And so the drift it sneaks up on you so fast. That's why if you make it a lifestyle, the Marriage of Greatness, a lifestyle of paddling. So you don't have to get up and go, oh, Jim, I got to paddle today. I don't know, right? If you think about it, it's too late, right? It's just, that's what we do. We paddle. So my bride and I, every day, we paddle together.
I love that. Just another great example of how simple you just made it. So simple, right? But not easy, but definitely simple. Pick up that paddle. I love that. That was brilliant. I might steal it.
Go for it. You can.
Okay, good. And I've probably taught 100 lessons out of the Moana movie, but not that one. That one.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Added to all of my, if anyone asks me my favorite Disney movie without even having to think about it for a second, it's always Moana. And that was just yet another great example of why.
Ah, yes. In our best-selling book, we have a chapter called The Moana Marriage. And so it's like, yeah, are you going to be the pouty Moana sitting on the boat going, meh? Or are you going to be the one that's, again, like, hey, as soon as I realize it's on me to improve and I can only control me, right? The circles, the whole thing, right? It's like you're teaching, that movie is your teaching, right?
I love it.
Tied together.
I haven't taught, this is really interesting, actually. I haven't taught a lot of marriage principles out of Moana. I teach a lot of like personal responsibility and like your scars and those types of lessons out of Moana. But you guys are like, definitely rocking the marriage teachings out of Moana. I love it. Oh, we're going to be best friends. Okay. Okay. So here's something really interesting because I ask all my guests about balance because my audience says that all the time, right? They say, market to your audience, use the languages that they use. And my audience is always looking for this balance. And I hate that word. But I do use it in my marketing. So when I asked you the question, what have you learned about balancing marriage, family life, and entrepreneurship? You said there is no balance, which I agree with. So there's a much better word to describe how we can successfully manage all of our important responsibilities. But I feel like balance is what everyone's looking for these days. Mm-hmm. So why do you say balance is a lie, and what do you strive for instead?
Yeah, I really appreciate you prefacing that, and again, getting caught up, right? And well, you want to be what your audience wants to hear, and all this stuff. So the simple truth is, balance doesn't exist because, or that's why the entrepreneurs can never find it, and they keep thinking that's what they need, right? Like, I got to get this balancing because I can't find it. Well, it doesn't exist, and so. How much time and pain and problems are you going to put on yourself looking for something that doesn't exist?
Yes.
Looking for things that don't exist bring you nothing but pain and problems. So if you want to end the pain and problems, you have to understand there is no balance. Rather, from a musical standpoint, there is harmony.
Okay.
And I learned this lesson and there's a Disney component, right? Because the Disney flows through everything in marriage, right? So my bride and I said, hey, let's take the kids to the Philharmonics, see how long they last. Let's see if we can make it to intermission. That was our goal. Like, we can make it to intermission. We won.
Because they were little.
Yeah, they were little. And it had Disney songs in it. So we're like, okay, symphony, Disney songs. All right, we may be able to pull this off. And so I'm sitting in there, and this theater is spectacular. So I'm just like doing, my ADD is like going crazy. Look at this, look at this, look at this. And then I started counting the instruments, Monica. And I was like, man, there's like 6 or 7 violinists, but there's only one of that big metal thing. And then there's only one dude on the cymbals, which is the best gig ever, right? Like once every 10 minutes. Okay. But I digress. But all the instruments were the numbers were not even. So we're out of balance in the numbers. And then the sounds, right? When they're warming up, there was no balance in the sounds. Yes, this cacophony of all these funky, it's like, man, this place is out of whack, right? But the second the composer steps to the platform, right? Then when everyone's on the same page, I got harmony out of this total imbalance, right? I mean, everything was imbalanced. The different sizes of the people playing the instruments, right? You had these big fat guys, you had these skinny little violinists and vice versa and all this stuff. So there's zero balance, but they created this harmony. That's when it hit me. I was like, oh, that's what it is about having a marriage of greatness and a life of greatness and life to the full and having it all is understanding that you, Monica, are the composer. That means you're the one writing the music. And what's fascinating is, we talk music theory and all this stuff. I'm not a big musician, but there's only 12 notes. I don't know if you realize this. So think about from the beginning of time, right? Bach, Chopin, all these, Vivaldi, all these great composers, right? And do you think about from the music that's been created then to the amount of music that's being created now, there's still only 12 notes.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, so there's nothing new under the sun, right? Like entrepreneurship, right? There's nothing new about entrepreneurship, right? Like, well, again, it's since day one. Well, how do I balance my business and my family? It doesn't matter how much it's the same 12 notes, right? We all have the same 12 notes. We all have the same 24 hours. We all have the same stuff, right? So it's how you arrange those notes.
Oh.
Yes, yes. And then it gets better. It gets so much better. This is what my partner Elijah Hall taught me, is that he said, hey, and you have to realize when you're the first you write the notes, okay? So you are the composer, and then you get to be the conductor. So when you stand up and get your wand ready, when you go conduct that symphony, you're turning your back to the audience. So you need to turn your back to the world and what the world is telling you to do and how you need to do all this stuff. And just, you need to turn the back to the world and go, no, 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 no. This is my music and I'm going to play it this way. So for my bride and I, our harmony is not like, here's our music, go play it. No, no, no. It's about you taking those 12 notes and saying, how am I going to arrange them for our lifestyle of greatness, for our marriage of greatness. And so it's like, oh no, okay, I like some of those notes that Evan has over here, and I like over here. So for my bride and I, we were homeschool, home office for the last 15 years. So when COVID hit, we're like, nothing new for us. But most other entrepreneurs are like, what do I do? My kids are here. Right? But that was our harmony. So our harmony is totally different. And then the other thing that I know my bride's got some wisdom here is understanding that there are different seasons in life. So it's not like you write it's not like you write one song and go, this is it. It's like, no, no, no. Oh, we had an amazing, incredible, she was Mary Poppins, really. But she ended up growing up getting married, and we're like, well, she's not replaceable. What do we have to do now? So now it's like, wow, we have these new notes that we have to shift. And the kids are older and they need to take more responsibility. And it's like, okay, so you're constantly, depending on the seasons, changing the
You're
notes.
writing new symphonies.
Yeah. Or as business changes, Monica, we've all been there, right? Business is awesome. Also, whoa, what happened? What do we do, right?
Our word for 2020, which
Yes.
is pivot, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pivoting is simply just changing the notes and like, hey, we're going to go this direction for a little while. So, but it's taking that responsibility of saying, well, I just wish some better music would come along. It's like, no, you get to write the music. Yeah. You get to compose the music. But what's coming up for you, my love?
Oh, good.
As soon as you end the symphony, you got to get your thinking cap on, and you got to start writing the next one. Because as soon as you figure out how to parent your children, then they go into puberty, and you're like, what do I do with this now? And so what worked for you a month ago is not working anymore. And so you're constantly writing new symphonies, and you're having new chapters, and you take out a couple of violinists and you add a couple more cellos, or, it's constantly shifting and moving and changing, and you got to keep paddling and keep writing and just go with the flow. And we pray a lot.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll add is that the other lie, right, of the balance lie, because this is the other thing someone brought to my attention. If you think about it, Monica, and you've been on there, right? You're on a paddle board, or if you've ever been on a skateboard or a pair of roller skates. My bride still roller skates. Yahoo! The perfect example, once you get your balance, okay, you don't just go, oh, I don't need to balance anymore. That's an active thing. Otherwise, you fall over.
Yeah, you hit a crack.
Yeah, so you're constantly, even though people have this lie of like, I'm going to get to this balance thing and then I can relax.
Right.
Right? Well, if you relax, you fall over and you break things. Yeah. So there is no balance. So it also comes down to that fact of understanding that there is no end, right? People think, well, as soon as I get to Q1 of 2021, it's going to be awesome, right? Well, there is no ending point. So it's understanding of just enjoying the lifestyle of paddling. Because if you go into marriage going, I can't wait till I'm done paddling, okay, it's not going to end well. Or if you're going, man, I'm sick of writing this music. No, that's the whole part. It's enjoying that marriage of greatness of, man, I love paddling. I love writing these new musics. Hey, let's paddle in a circle for a while. All right, let's do this. Okay, I'll jump ahead. Okay, no, you go over here. So rather than this point of, again, the balance lie, right, where I can relax, I don't have to do anything. This is the lifestyle of paddling, of writing music, and the joy really is the journey, and the journey is the joy.
And then one more thing just to add to that, when you stop moving, you die. I mean, you really, really do. You stop paddling, you're going to drift apart, your marriage is going to die. You stop writing and composing, then you're going to have cacophony out the roof, and it's the music's going to die within you. You have to keep moving forward. And it's the same with like your physical activity. We have a lot of elderly friends, and as soon as they stop moving, they start shriveling up. And it's no, you just at least get outside and take a walk. You know, be moving forward in some manner. You know, Evan's dad always had a push mower to cut the lawn with, and he's like, why would Dad have a push mower? But it was just simply because he considered that as part of his exercise regimen. And so you just got to keep moving forward and don't stop.
Yeah. You know what else I love about this music analogy, which it's popping off. Like you brought it to my attention now. I'm like, I love this music analogy. That if you think about all the different types of music that are written with just one note, there's like, for me, I've got my pump up jams. I've got my music that I listen to when I'm trying to like calm myself at night. You know, I've got my country music that I belt out in the car, right? There's different songs for different times and different seasons.
Right.
Like, yes, I love that. But there's always just 12 notes. There's 12 notes, but there's infinite number of possibilities of songs or symphonies you can create with those 12 notes. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. And I'll dive into that too, because there's people that are fighting for their limitations or loyal to their limitations. Well, I don't have a business like you do, so I can, no, right? You got the same 12 notes, right? So and here's what's perfect, right, Monica? Because you've seen it now. I remember when it was called, and I'm aging myself. Remember it was called country and western, right? Right? Now it's like you got country and rap like fusing these, and it works, right?
Right.
We went to, who did we see? What concert was hers? Carrie Underwood. We went and saw Carrie Underwood, and the opening act, I forgot who they were, famous, but they actually did like this country full-on rap, and everybody in the audience is like, yeah, and I'm just like, since when did rap and country go together? But so no matter what industry you're in, no matter what COVID is doing or not doing, right, you can find that harmony. Whether it's an 808 kick drum or the little funky, I don't even know what they call that sitar thing that the country music people play, but you can make it work, and it's proven by music, right? So everything's fused with everything. So there are no excuses. It's just a matter of, hey, am I going to take action and, again, choose that marriage of greatness or choose to sit and wallow and make excuses?
So good. Oh, this has been so good. This has been so good. Okay, so tell us about your Marriage of Greatness online course and the special discount you have for my audience, because I feel like we could probably talk for hours, but I want to be respectful of the people who are like, I just wanted to go to the gym and work out real quick. But tell us where we could get more of this, because it's so, so good. Tell us about your course.
Absolutely. And so again, to remove the pain and problems in your marriage that you're listening to right now. So if you want to remove the pain and problems once and for all, right? Because sometimes we like cover them up or, we'll just push that aside and then they come back even worse, right? So if you want to remove the pain and problems once and for all, the simple truth is you need a guide. You need tools that you can access, guess what? When things aren't going well. Right? When I'm caught in the drift today, they're way over here. What do I do? Right? I want to pout like Moana, right? So having tools that you can use, having a guide that you can access 24/7, right? Just log on and be like, oh yeah, okay. Oh yeah, I can better. Oh yeah. And so that's the key, is having those tools. So we have an incredible discount. So my bride and I, again, are all about helping people have what we have. We also understand that the greatest investment you can make is in your marriage. And so if you think, oh yeah, a little $97 e-course is going to do it, you're highly mistaken, right? And so many people will do that, but they'll switch it, right? They'll go, okay, well, we'll just go on this trip, right? Let's just go on a vacation because that'll fix everything.
Yeah.
So they'll double down like on a vacation, but they'll have no intentionality, right? And then they come back or even if they get there and they go, wait, it's still you. I'm still me, right? So no matter where you go, there you are, right? Mm-hmm. So it's about understanding, hey, am I willing to invest in this marriage of greatness? And best of all, it can be tax deductible for all you business owners. So that's a key. So the cool part is, yes, you are going to get 50% off, and there'll be a special link that Monica will give to you, again, for Brighter Side listeners only. So you can access that at a heavily discounted price. So yay, Monica, for talking me down. I'm like, how low do you want to go, girl? Come on. Okay.
Yes, I love it. I love people who are as passionate about helping people with their marriage as me. There's not very many of us out there, but it's like, we recognize each other. I love it. Okay. And then tell us where else my listeners can find you and follow your adventures all over the globe, getting remarried.
Yeah, so that was actually a gift. It was hilarious because it started off as a gift to my bride for Valentine's. It was a Valentine's Day way back because, again, full disclosure, my bride and I would be talking about a different wedding. We're like, what number was that? Where do we go? Who is that? Where I'm like, all right, we got to do a website. So I created a website as a Valentine's Day gift. And then, I shared it with one person. They're like, oh, the greatest thing ever. We got to do it. And then it became this public thing. So it's evanlovessusan.com. And that is continuing. So all 27 weddings are on there. We even have there's a bonus on there for, you get a free hard copy of our book. If you're a book reading person, you get a free hard copy, not an ebook, but a physical hard copy. There's a little link on there, but there's all kinds of fun videos, deep dive, cool stuff. And you can see how beautiful my bride is. You can even see me with a little bit of hair on there. That's a fun one for you.
Done. Say no more. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.
To learn more ways to deepen your intimacy and strengthen your relationship, make sure you watch this video next.